You clicked here because you're expecting MuscleManMalcolm. But first you're going to get Arizona's zealot pro wrestling heavyweight champion. You're going to get Without a Cause and Washington's heavyweight champion. Then you're going to get California's Maverick Revolution champion. My name is the Ultimate Finesser, Chris Bay. And you're watching MuscleManMalcolm. Subscribe.
What's up, YouTube? Right now, I'm here with the newest signee to Impact Wrestling, the Ultimate Finesser. I even got to wear a shirt just because of the day, Chris Bay.
Look at you. What you got
going,
bars.
man?
You got bars today. He said I had to wear
Yes,
this
sir.
because of the day, Chris Bay. This guy's got bars.
All right, how's it going?
I'm doing better now. Look where I'm at, man. I'm talking to you. This is where it's at.
Yeah, history making, man. I've been trying to do this for a minute.
Yeah, I know. We everything happens when it's supposed to happen. I'm a firm believer in timing, so I feel like quarantine is perfect time.
Yeah, it really is. But
Yeah.
talking about quarantine, I mean, how's quarantine been going for you? I mean, you've been keeping busy?
Yeah, man, I've been trying to stay busy. I just without the shows, it's been one of those things where it just tests your creativity outside of that, trying to figure out projects to do outside of that, rest up our bodies. It gives us a chance to do stuff like that, and just not take a lot of things for granted, like I've been using this time to just get my head right more than anything.
You've been watching any, like, Netflix, been binging anything, or just kind of been, working out and chilling?
To be real, I've been watching a lot of Disney Plus, bro. I've been reminiscing to the childhood, if we be real. Yeah.
What kind of stuff you watching?
I started with Lizzie McGuire, right?
Oh, okay.
Then I went to Hannah Montana. Okay.
Classics.
Then I went to The Sweet Life.
Uh-huh.
Now I just jumped over to That So Raven. So I'm
man, you just like hop it everywhere. All right, I get that.
I'm all over the place right now, bro. I'm trying to feel young again.
Yeah, talking about like wrestling, all that kind of stuff before we started recording. I mean, you just got signed to Impact Wrestling about a month ago. I mean, like, congratulations for that.
And what I told you was kayfabe too. What I told you before we started rolling. So we gonna kayfabe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you. Says you've appeared on Impact and Explosion, all that kind of stuff for a while now, but there was mainly as like guest appearances, showing up and having matches here and there. How'd that conversation go from like being like a part-time employee almost to now being like a full-time roster member for Impact Wrestling?
So I had that time of my life where I figured Impact. I was leaning towards Impact because I did their Unbreakable in the summer. I think it was August, and then they came to Vegas late September. And I did the Vegas tapings, but it was so much consistency within that. I just felt like I was feeling very comfortable over there. And I was feeling like that was where I really wanted to post up for a while. And then the 205 Live thing happened. Well, Ring of Honor happened the next week, and 205 Live happened the week after. Maybe like a week or two after 205, I talked to D-Lo, and I talked to Scott D'Amore, and they just basically told me that there was an offer now, and they were interested in putting me on the roster. And of course, like I said, it was where I wanted to go. So for me, it wasn't about it wasn't as much as it was a waiting game as the internet think it was, with the whole AEW alternative stuff that was going on. It was my mind was kind of set already because I just have these goals at Impact. So for me, once they approached me, I didn't jump right on the opportunity, but I was like 90% sure that's where I was gonna end up staying. So I think I sat on the idea for maybe a month, and then I finalized the deal maybe mid to late November.
Okay. Well, I mean, you talked about like being on other big stages. I mean, you showed up on 205 Live, you showed up for Ring of Honor, and there's all the speculation about AEW and whatnot. Like, what about Impact Wrestling was like home for you? Like something you really wanted to do? You wanted to sign there and kind of remain for a full couple years of your career there or longer?
Yeah. So the game is about longevity, right? So for me, I knew that not only did I already have goals at Impact, like being world champion, being X Division champion. You and I come from YouTube, so for me, I think back to 2009 on my YouTube channel where I was unboxing the Impact World Championship. So for me to bring that story full circle is a story in itself that hasn't been done yet. So it's original content. And I know that with AEW and WWE being options as well, Ring of Honor being options as well, I knew that Impact, I had these goals where it was just these championships that I wanted to touch and these moments I wanted to create. And also Impact has one of the best rosters, you know? So for me, people don't get to see that. People really start thinking about like the old statement that Impact has attached to it, and they are trying to give themselves a reason not to watch. I don't know why. So for me, I knew that if I went over there, it would make people start to watch, even if it's just for my segment. They'll see who I'm involved with, and they'll be like, oh, this person's really good. And look, that's the thing. Like I told this story, I don't remember where I told this story recently, but I think the week after I signed, I was at an indie show, and someone at the merch table was like, "Man, why'd you sign the Impact? Why didn't you go to AEW, WWE, bro?" They're like, "I don't watch Impact." I was like, "That's exactly why." I was like, "Because if I would have went over there, I would have added 0 viewership. You're already watching those other programs, but now you got to come tune in and add viewership on Impact to see me because." That's where it's at.
I was one of those people too. I was like, oh man, like he's at Impact. Like, I mean, that's dope because like I love Impact like a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, but AEW, we could have been there. But I'm like, I like Impact though, but the roster's dope. I'm like, but I'm trying to see him in like AEW. I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess I'll watch Impact more now. So I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, it's true. I mean, a lot of people are gonna watch Impact now because you have people like you and like Kylie Ray showing up there recently. So kudos to you for going to Impact, a promotion that's been highly underrated for the past couple of years, and they're slowly building stuff back up to like where they were when they were like TNA and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to get to there and beyond. In my time here, that's how I'm like looking at the whole process of me being a part of the team. It's how can we all together as a team get it back to that and beyond that. Like like you said, me and Kylie and we talk about the tag team division. We have like the North Fire. We talk about Tessa being world champion. We talk about the OGs. We got like Rhino and Dreamer and Raven pulling and Steiner math. You know what I'm saying? We talk about it's just like it's the longevity of the game. So AEW would have been great, but they've been around a year and a half. Impact's been around 20 years, despite people wanting to see them die or saying, "Oh, this is it. This is the final nail in the coffin." They've been around 20 years, so clearly we got some longevity here. We got something to work with, and then I want to take over that place and get to the top of that place, and then we'll see what happens after that. Of course.
I'm guessing like your big goals are like facing Tessa probably for that world title, but like who else on that roster are you trying to face? Maybe take their championship one day.
I want to face TJP for sure.
Okay.
I've never been in the ring with him as far as a camera goes, and I would love to, just because he's such a great performer and he's one of the best wrestlers in the world to me. So for me to get in there, I would pick up so much new knowledge, and he would learn a thing or two in the art of finesse. So I think it goes both ways. So TJ for sure. Ace Austin, I owe him a rematch because he did beat me on Explosion over the summertime before he got to that X Division championship. So I definitely owe him a rematch, and I definitely want his championship too. So if the X Division championship is something I want, I'm going to take it. So Ace Austin should be on the lookout for that, because when he beat me 8 or 9 months ago, I was 20 pounds lighter and I wasn't as smart as I am now. So we coming for the gold now. But we got Ace, we got TJ. I got to get in there with some OGs too, man. Like to get in there with Dreamer, or to get in there with like Rhino would be pretty good. Or even like Rob Van Dam versus Chris Bay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. That would be some fire matches.
Like, come on, bro. Like, where else could
Impact's a place. I mean, you chose the right area to be at, honestly. Talking about like championships and stuff, at one point you were walking around with 4 different belts on. On your time being like with FSW and whatnot, like what led up to you wanting to get trained? And like, was being a wrestler something you always wanted to be, or is it something like, okay, I'll give it a try and see if I'm good at it?
Nah, it was always what I wanted to do. I saw wrestling when I was 3 and got addicted to it. And then when Eddie Guerrero won the WWE Championship, I knew for a fact like it was what I wanted to do. So once that happened, I think maybe 8 years old around that time, like it was still a long way to go until we got to where we are now. But it was just passion and just wanting to do this. And then the YouTube channel that was derived off the wrestling stuff, because back home in Virginia where I was at, I didn't have homies to like watch wrestling with. I don't know if you have the same dilemma, but I didn't have it.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
So you get it. Like there was nobody to watch the wrestling with. So for me, like the internet was where I went to to have my wrestling friends and my wrestling relationships, or like whenever they come to the Capital One Arena, I'm like, bet, finally we're gonna be around some wrestling fans, even if just
like everybody
for a
starts
night.
pulling up and stuff. I understand.
Yeah. Like it was that feeling for me. So like once I got to a certain age, I knew my original plan was when I was 18, I was gonna graduate and go find a school, but I ended up procrastinating for 2 years, and then when my father passed away, that was when I was like, all right, it's time to like really make this happen, because I knew time was just of the essence, and I didn't want to lose like my mom too and still be sitting on my ass and not pursuing the goal. So I had just came to Vegas for my 20th birthday the month before, and I remember falling in love with Vegas. And I thought about it. I was like, man, they have everything there. They probably have wrestling. So I Googled it and I found Future Stars of Wrestling, and I saw a couple videos of Killer Cross. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but this guy is legit. Like, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but this guy is definitely legit. So I called the school and they told me like the price. And even then the price is like a fraction of every other school I've done research on in the country. Like, I don't know how well you've done your research on wrestling schools and what tuitions are, but for FSW, our tuition is like $150 a month, which everywhere else you got to put down like some crazy deposit. And then
that's what I've been saving up for.
I understand that, bro. But over here, it's $150 a month, and then we also have our student shows where the younger talent get opportunity, and we have our regular shows, and then we have our casino shows, and then we have times when Impact and Ring of Honor come to town, and we merge with those people. So like, it just seemed like the very best possible option, and
I mean, it sounds like a good option.
Yeah, clearly we are today, bro. Go ahead, move to the West.
Man, I might have to, but honestly, that 150 sounds good. Like, I'm trying to save up 2K right now, and it's a struggle. It's a real struggle out here, but
I believe it, man. I've been there, brother. I've been there.
Yeah.
Hang on. You'll get there.
Well, one thing, I mean, you talked about already is that you had a YouTube channel, or you still have one right now. You're still pretty active on it. You post stuff. Yeah. But, like, back in the day, I was looking through it the other day, and I was like, oh, he has, like, skateboarding videos. Yeah, I looked at all of them. The skateboarding stuff. He reviewing championships. I'm like, oh. Okay, so he's like an OG wrestling YouTuber. Because I was talking to like a friend the other day. We were talking about like old wrestling YouTubers he used to talk to, or that we used to watch back in the day. He's like, I used to watch this guy Chris Bay. I think he's a wrestler now. I'm like, yo, he's in Impact right now, bro. Like, what you talking about? You should know him by now. I'm like, oh, like that's pretty tough. So like, when you had this YouTube channel, like, were you trying to like blow up and be famous like a YouTuber, or were you just trying to use that as like something that's like a creative output? Or something to like, help you in your wrestling career eventually?
I didn't look at it as anything aside from my connection to other wrestling fans. Like, I remember there was a summer where I was at my dad's house, and he lived in Maryland, and then we were gonna go to see Raw was in town at the Capital One Arena, so we were gonna go to a Raw, and I remember like before going to Raw, being on my dad's computer, and I found like a couple of YouTube videos of people showing their replica belts, and I had a couple at the time, and I remember watching these YouTube videos, and I think I created my YouTube channel about 6 or 7 months before this, but it was for skateboarding, but then I stopped putting up content. So I remember sitting there watching these YouTube videos of these replica belts, and I remember thinking to myself like, yo, I got belts, I got a camera, I got a channel, I should like do this
Might as well.
And I remember like making my first one, and then filming 2 others right after I stopped the camera filming the first one, and then uploading all 3 like the first night, and just being like, and then maybe the next month or so there was like a couple hundred views, and I was like, oh, and then I remember hitting like 1,000 subscribers, and I was just like, oh wow, like, but it never even with those things happening, it never came a thing to me where I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a following off YouTube and it's gonna help wrestling, or I'm gonna get a following off. I never even, like, as much as I would acknowledge, like, hey, we just hit this many subscribers, or hey, we just hit this many views, the numbers never even, because I was 12, bro. I was 12, 13. Like, I didn't care about that. All I cared about was the finally talking to people about wrestling and sharing knowledge about wrestling. I would literally go to class. This was going into 8th grade when I started, or going into middle school when I started my channel, going into 7th grade. I remember, like, I'd go in class and be all day just like not caring, just waiting to get home and just go right to my computer and just like, what's new in the wrestling world? Like,
exactly, man. Been living the same life.
I'm trying to tell you, we really have. We really have.
For
It's
real,
amazing.
that's wild.
Yeah.
Through like the YouTube channel, like, did you meet like other people? Because I know like I seen like pictures of you with like Nick Wright, people like in the fitness industry, and I'm like, oh snap, like I love fitness and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like I'm watching like the Christian Guzmans and Nick Wright and Max Tunin and all of them. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Did you ever think about like possibly being like a fitness channel or anything like that as well, or
Yeah.
was it just like meet wrestling fans?
Yeah, no. So the channel like quickly expanded into just anything I was interested in. I started putting more skateboarding content, and then it was all types of different stuff and handboards and tech decks and whatever I was interested in at the time. And then eventually I got into fitness, and that's when I started watching people like Chris Jones and Christian Guzman and Nick Wright, who is the homie now. Shout out Nick Wright, and Max Tuning. And I remember watching these guys and just thinking like, okay, cool. Like, so I can maybe do this too, but I didn't have the knowledge or the equipment at the time. And around the same time I started watching all of them, or around the same time, like my laptop crashed and didn't have Wi-Fi in my house anymore and shit. Like that type of stuff started happening, like real world stuff. So YouTube became something that I would only do if I was like sneaking into the computer graphics lab in school to upload my videos on the computer, like, and then getting out without being seen. But it became one of those things. I wanted to upload that type of content, but I just knew I didn't have all the proper tools to. So even the few times I would film like workout stuff back in 2012, 2013, I've made sure to private those because it's pretty cringe to look back on. But those guys have been a huge inspiration, not only on my channels or my fitness journeys, but just on my whole lifestyle. Like Christian Guzman and his pursuit of everything he's done has changed my life. He had a video called I'm Quitting YouTube from 2016. And I remember when I watched that video, that was the video that made me decide that I was going to finally move to actually go wrestle. And then that's when the next day I did the research and found FSW. But it was off a Christian Guzman video that I saw where he was just talking about like making shit happen and how he started from this and now he's this. And as us as viewers, we saw him start from that and seeing what he was now. And I was just like, it's right here. Like, it's literally right here. Why am I not taking it? And it was one of those moments where that just launched everything. So shout out to all those guys. And I've met all those guys through like the Olympia. When I first moved here, I moved here in July, and then I think the Olympia was in August, late August. And I was like, oh snap, the Olympia comes here. And I'm going and meeting Christian, and like I remember telling him about how his channel helped me. And then I remember the next year I went too, and he was like, oh yeah, so how'd the wrestling thing go? And I was like, bro, we're here, like we got it, like. But yeah, shout out to all of them, man. Shout out to all that. I get inspired by simple stories, by complex stories. I just get inspired by drive. You inspired me. I don't know if I ever told you that. You inspired me.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, you the man. You try to act like you're not. You the man, bro.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate it. I try. But I mean, one of these days, I might have to get signed to Impact myself. I mean, we'll see how it goes down in the ring. I'm just saying, I mean, I do well on YouTube, so I think I'll do well in the ring too. So I mean, better watch yourself if you got a belt, because like I'm coming.
Okay.
That's just real talk. I'm just saying.
Okay.
But like,
that's what I like to hear.
But you were saying how you were from Virginia or from like this DMV area before you went to Vegas. Man, like again, another small world scenario. I'm also from DMV. For people that are watching this that don't know who I am, I'm from DC. You used to be from the area, but you also said you were born or raised in Alexandria, Virginia, which is also the same city that I was born in too. So how was like living in the DMV area like different from like living in Vegas? And like which one do you prefer? I'm guessing it's probably Vegas, but which one would you prefer?
I prefer Vegas, and I'm sure if the time frames were different, maybe the answer would be different, because I did start living my adulthood life out here, and I lived all my childhood years there. So maybe if they were different, like maybe, but back there it was just like I couldn't be me, man. Like I wanted to, and I really just couldn't. Like I wanted to talk wrestling and nobody wanted to watch wrestling. Or then it got to the ages where if you did want to talk wrestling or you did watch wrestling, now it was a joke, and it was just hard. So there was all those days where I just had to pretend like I didn't care about wrestling as much as I cared about it, and it made me very very sad and very very scared to leave, because people didn't really leave from that area to do something like what I'm doing right now. So it just didn't seem real. And even when I would tell people, close people, you know, family, friends, brothers, whatever, people would kind of give me that look like, why? Like, do you realize it's not going to work? Do you realize it's stupid? And it hindered me creatively. The reason I stopped making a lot of wrestling content before it was just the computer was the issue, that it was just because the people in my real life who I would see at school who would say stuff about my content or whatever, like it just really didn't feel something I would ever wish anybody to have to grow up on, because looking at back now and understanding it for what I understand for now, of course it made me who I am and it built the hunger that I have today, but it also just made it hard. It makes it hard for me to look back on my life because it couldn't be me, and I didn't enjoy it. And whenever I look back on it, I feel like cheated almost, you know, and I feel like that's time I'll never get back. But I prefer living it out here because it's just more free. Everybody, like, there's a lot less, like, of course there's crazy people, it's Vegas, but people travel here every day, so you see different people all the time, and then people are from different walks of life, so everybody's so different, so nobody's really judgmental about things because things are just different. Like, I remember the first time I came over here and like my first couple months being here, and like I was joning on somebody just messing around, you know what that is.
Yeah.
But they just didn't understand why I was saying what I was saying, and I was just like, I'm just joking, and they're just like, but why? And I'm like, is that not something y'all don't like make fun of each other over here? It's jokes?
Yeah, it's like what you have to do when you're over here. Like that's,
you know,
like, hard
I was like, you don't make fun of each other? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's cool. Like, whatever. So like, it took me a while to realize that over here people are just a lot more laid back. That's why I like it over here. Like, it's just a lot more relaxed. Like, even with the coronavirus being as serious as it is right now, in my city, it's very relaxed right now.
Like, so when you have a YouTube channel, everyone kind of starts off with like a kind of iffy name, like, you know, like, wish I had changed that earlier. What was your original YouTube name? Because I know, like, mine, before I was MuscleManMalcolm, I was 99 Awesome on it, which I hate, and I hate with a passion. But I was like, I don't know why I did it, but I did it to myself.
99 Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm mad because I find that so funny, but when you hear mine, it's just so much more worse. Like, but I'm laughing at this one like it's the worst thing I've ever heard. Okay, so 99 Awesome. Yeah, I would have been like, yeah, this is my pal 99 Awesome right here. I would have loved that channel back in the day. See, for me, my original YouTube channel name was Alizi25. And it was a combination because, once again, when I made the channel, I made it for skateboarding, and it was with my best friend back home. His name's Oliver, and my nickname that they called me is Wheezy. So we took the two names, Oliver and Wheezy, and made All Easy. And then I was 12, he was 13, so we added them together to get 25. So it was All Easy 25.
I mean, that's the science behind it. That's pretty dope.
It was literally us creating an account, sitting next to each other, and being like, what is why don't we just put half of yours, half of mine? Like, okay, whatever. Like, it was that simple of a thought process.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need a whole lot of thought. I mean, like, you know, good names come out of nowhere. You have guys like PewDiePie and stuff, and you don't know where that really comes from. So, like, you never know what could happen. I mentioned earlier that I was your inspiration, which is like, that's wild. Because, like, I mean, people like you and like Velveteen or Batista or whatever, like wrestlers that come from this area, and like Leo, people that come from this area, it's always like cool to see someone from like that started off here and then made it on like big stages. But like something that like you and Leo have in common is that you guys also do music. And you have Brain Freeze that came out about a month ago. Come out before that?
Almost a month, almost a month.
Yeah. So like, what's the inspiration behind doing music? Like, do you have any favorite artists, or like, you know, what was like the idea of like wanting to become like a rapper and a wrestler all at the same time?
So because I didn't say it as we're listing all these things, but my channel also used to have music on it at a point. I've been dabbling in music all my life. My grandfather was an entertainer, and he traveled and sung, and my mom used to travel with him. So when I was really young, we used to go over his house, and he had like all the equipment and stuff, and it was just something that was always a passion of mine. Like, I remember rapping to people all the time when I was real young, and I think I made my first mixtape when I was like 6, which was pretty insane. Like, I remember I had like the little cassette tape of it and everything, bro. Like, it was insane. And then maybe 8th grade year, there was a group called JD Gang, who used to stay after school and record songs. And they had heard me freestyle before, so they were like, yo, you trying to hop on this track? And I was like, yeah. And I'll never forget, because the one day they say this and I stay after school, I remember getting the email confirmation, checking the email confirmation off my teacher's laptop while I'm after school and seeing that my Impact World title just arrived at my house. And I'm like, why am I here right now? I'm supposed to be home right now unboxing that. Like, the one time I wanted to come after school. But so I started rapping with those guys, and then they stopped, and then a year later I started making stuff by myself freshman year. And then between freshman year and the year 2016 when I moved out here, I think I dropped like 8 or 9 mixtapes.
Wow.
And and then I knew for me that wrestling was going to take all of my energy. So when I started wrestling, I just stopped making music, but I'd never stopped writing. So the whole time I've been out here, I wrote like 300, 400 songs probably, like being out here. And then like I just knew, like a year ago I got back in the studio, because that's when I think I recorded Brain Freeze in June. So about a year ago I got back in the studio, and because last year was such a ride wrestling wise that I knew that it was time for me to start letting that creative outlet back out. And let's see, music's expensive too, so like I think my last mixtape that I dropped back in 2016, I spent somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 on, like, so yeah, music's super expensive, bro. So like that's another reason why I stopped when I came out here, because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be living across the country away from home by myself, also training and paying for training, and then also doing music, and like it just was impossible. So fortunately last year I started making a little bit more and being able to get back in the studio, and here we are this year, where I remember saying a couple months ago, like, okay, well, when I hit 10K, I'll drop some music. And then it was like the quest for 10K, and I just hit 13K like 2 days ago, which is crazy, because literally went that fast. But I just didn't want to drop music on deaf ears, because that's what I used to do. I had no fans, I had no friends, people didn't actually care to support me back home. So if I was dropping something, 100 people would check it out, when right now Brain Freeze is sitting at 6K on Spotify, like couple hundred on Apple. Like it's bro, like this is I'm hyped, bro. Like I'm actually pretty hyped about it, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive. That's good.
Super stoked. We got a new single dropping April 10th. Chains Made Me Free. Chains Made Me Free will be out. I'm excited for that one. It's the intro to the new EP, and it's probably one of my favorite songs I've made. It's basically about life on the road and how I'm never home, and asking what makes you happy. What's the question of life? What really makes you happy? What are the things? Is it tangible things, or is it people? What makes you happy? And what makes me happy is what I'm trying to figure out. And I got a lot of time to think, because I'm on the road. So it's very simple.
All right, final thing. A lot of people compare you to another certain wrestler that's kind of big in the industry. I think you know where I'm going with this. There was a tweet that you put out on February 29th, 2020. It says, "Guy, my wife loves you. She can't remember your name, though. What is it again? Me, Kofi." How often do you get compared to Kofi Kingston?
Way too much, if you ask me, because we really don't look alike. So
Not at all. I mean, the dreads, but that's really about it. Like, your body's built different. Like, you guys don't look the same. Like, y'all are different people.
It's vague similarities. I remember Kofi and I, like, the first time I met him and interacted with him, I remember we hung out for a while, maybe a couple hours, like, and I remember telling him at one point, just subtly, like, about how all my life I get compared to him. And then I remember asking him to take a selfie, and I was like, so people can finally end this debate that we don't look alike. And this picture, you can clearly see.
Oh, I saw the picture.
Side by side. Yeah. We don't look alike.
Not at all.
When we're actually next to each other, we don't look alike. But then you get certain times where, like, that picture I put up the other day where he got his line up on his beard, and he's looking at the angle, the same exact angle I took my selfie. It's the same exact, like, hair and beard. And I'm just like, okay, like, maybe here, but I get it so much, bro. Like, and I get him, I get Swerve a lot. Like, I don't know whether it's, and I used to get Swerve at PCW, where we'd be doing the autograph signings, and people would be like, "Hey, Swerve," and I'd be like, "Dude, he's 3 people down. Like, look, he's right there. He's 6 foot. I'm 5'8". Like, he's darker. I'm lighter. I got blonde hair. He got short black dreads.
Exactly.
They were short at the time. I'm like, we're clearly not the same person. Like, I don't understand. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, the Kofi thing, sometimes it's super entertaining. Other times it's annoying. Like, the trolls are annoying. Like, the people who are just like, maybe how like I'm a wannabe Kofi or a cheap Kofi. Like, that stuff's super trolly, and that shit's annoying because it's just like, I don't get how even making that comment makes you happy. Like, even like just the idea of writing that seems like a waste of time.
Even like your whole like movesets are different too. So like there's really not any comparisons besides just being black and with dreads. That's literally it.
I was gonna say, I remember seeing Kofi when I did 205 Live, and we're talking about the blonde hair, and I was like, yeah, if you do it, people are gonna just compare us forever. And he laughed so hard about it, and he thought I was lying. Now every Friday night when he's on TV or every pay-per-view, I'm getting tagged in match clips of his, and I'm just like, this is the world we live in.
Like, how did you react when you first saw like that picture of him with blonde dreads? Because I saw it, I was like, oh, someone's gonna say Chris Bay. I already know it. Yeah. Like the minute I saw him like on the Instagram video, he popped up with blonde hair. I was like, whoa, that's another Chris Bay impersonation we're talking about.
I popped over it because he told me that he was like thinking about doing it when I saw him, but that was so many months prior that I figured maybe he just wasn't gonna do it anymore, or maybe he had a new idea. So when like he did it, I remember I even commented in like shock because it caught me so off guard that I forgot that I wasn't ready. But I also remembered him saying it. So for me, it just made me very happy because if we rewind the clock 12 years, I'm coming out of school, calling one of my best friends, and we're watching ECW to watch Kofi's debut so we can laugh at this hilarious Jamaican guy with his Jamaican accent. And then you fast forward to 2015 where I'm sitting like second row at a SmackDown in the Capital One Arena, and I got my ex with me at the time, and Kofi and New Day are heels at the time, and he swerves me on a high five. And then you fast forward to 3 years later, where the first time I hung out with him, and me and him are playing Mortal Kombat, and he cooks me, and I'm gonna high five him, and then I swerve him, and I'm like, got you back for so many years ago. Like,
the greatest storyline in history.
You know, and then people always saying, yeah, you're a Kofi Kingston lookalike, and then now people be like, Kofi Kingston's trying to look like you. Like, just to look at all the evolutions of where we've come, like, I'm just so grateful for it, bro, because like the Cody Rhodes dashing thing, like I clearly stole that at name 10 years ago, and 10 years later he's giving it to me. So it's like, it's crazy, bro. I don't believe it sometimes. I just don't believe it.
Crazy. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I know you got lots of things to do. You got music to make. You got people to wrestle and finesse all day long. But YouTube, that is the interview with the ultimate finesser, Chris Bay. Tell them where they can find you all over social media. Let them know.
Yeah, so Twitter and Instagram is dashing Chris Bay. That's BEY, not BAE, for the single individuals who are listening. So it's BEY, dashing Chris Bay. You can look on YouTube and not search All Easy 25. Please just search Chris Bay, or else you'll find some old stuff of skateboarding, cringe stuff you don't want to see. Maybe you do want to see it. Run my views up. We had 2 million total, so keep them coming. I'm on TikTok now. I don't know how to use it. So
you're on TikTok.
I don't know how to use it. I got one up, and it's nothing special. I'm gonna let you know right now.
All right.
Nothing special. So it'll be very underwhelming. That's where I'm at. That's where you can find me. I respond to DMs if things are logical, and if you need help or advice, I'm in a timely manner. I can get back to you and help people out whenever. I appreciate all the support always. It's very important to me that I'm able to do what I love to do and what I've dreamed about doing, and that people appreciate it. So I appreciate people for just tuning in and taking the time to watch anything Chris Bay related.
Well, YouTube, there it is. That's Chris Bay. You can catch him on Impact Wrestling. But thank you guys for watching the video. Really enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, share, and always subscribe. And we outie.
Yeah. Top. Yeah.
We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a MuscleManMalcolm. We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a MuscleManMalcolm. When it just like 1, 2, 3. If you like the channel, this subscribe. If you like the channel, this subscribe. If you like the channel, this subscribe.